when Turosese, that I will come to Tusculum, and this is a place where he had, as the site indicates, he had a country home, he had a villa out in the countryside south of Rome, this place called Tusculum. He says, I think I'm going to be in Tusculum. Out. What does the out and the out mean? Et is both and. Getting close. Either or. He says, I think I'll be in Tusculum either on the Nones. No, it's not the 9th. What day?
Oh, it's the Nones.
The Nones. Remember your calendar dates. Okay? Remember your calendar dates. Calends, the Nones, and the Ides. Everything's centered around those 3 days. How many days you were before one of those fixed days. The calends always fell on which day? The 1st. The Nones fell on the 5th or the 7th. The Ides fell on the 13th or the 15th. And those off days, the 7th for the Nones and the 15th for the Ides, those were in the months of March, May, July, and October. So the Ides of March obviously would have been which day? March 15th. March 15th. He says, I think I'm going to be there on the Nones or Postridia.
Yeah.
On the day after. Okay?
Wait, did this happen to be one of those off months or not?
I don't know that we have them up on this. We just don't know. Ibi what's that? The F, yeah, okay. The letters that he published, and we said at the beginning of all this, who published his letters? His 2 friends. It wasn't a name though. Atticus and Atticus Finch, yes.
And Fury.
And Tyro. And Tyro, his secretary. They organized his letters. They organized his letters into volumes based on the people to whom he wrote. Okay? So there's a whole collection of letters ad Atticum. They're obviously written to Atticus. There's a whole volume of letters just written to Atticus. He's got a whole collection of letters ad familia, to his family, and then he's got other collections as well. So this one is in the family collection. Obviously, he's writing his wife.
And that's
That's
what
what
Tyro.
the F is for.
So Cicero's daughter died?
Cicero's daughter died. He's writing his wife. This is going to be country home, either on the Nones or perhaps the day after.
Is that what the Tyro would have published, the Ad Familium?
Well, he and Atticus together combed through all of Cicero's correspondence and worked together to publish all of it. Ibi ut sint omnia parata. Here's the deal. Ut introduces what kind of clause? Purpose clause. All right. So sint is your subjunctive verb. Where's the main verb of the sentence? There isn't one. Great example of the way you and I talk and write. We don't talk, we don't write always in full sentences or certainly well-formed sentences. Honestly, if you had a transcript of everything you said in a day or heard, it would be incredibly fragmentary. If you actually put it on paper, chances are most other people wouldn't even understand half of it. Because you're making references to things, you're gesturing to things. There's all kinds of other visual clues going on in our communication. So our communication is usually very fragmented, and it is here in his writing. So he doesn't even put in a main verb. He simply says, there, ibi, there, so that, omnia, all things may be parata, may be ready. What do you think he means? He's writing his wife. He says, I'm going to be home on the 5th or maybe the 6th. Yeah, make sure everything's ready. Make sure everything's ready. He doesn't actually say make sure, or he didn't actually put in a main verb. He just says there, so that all things are ready. Okay? Well, he's going to say a little bit more. He says, plures enim fortasse nobiscum erunt. He says, well, multiple, yeah, it is several. But the thing is, fortasse is this really vague word. Perhaps. Perhaps there will be a bunch of people, nobiscum, with us. But it's not set in stone. He just says perhaps there may be a bunch of people with us. And as I arbitrate, as I think, we will stay a while. Now, I don't know about you, but you write home from college and tell your parents, maybe I'm going to be home this day, maybe I'm going to be home another day, I might have some friends with me, and we may stay a while. Make sure there's plenty of food and everything for you. Your folks are going to be rightly upset about that. That's rude. You're not giving any word count for what's that?
That's what Max does.
Is that what your brother does?
Yeah, he just shows up.
Well, typically that's a little rude, right? Because people, you got a plan. Are you or are you not going to have some people? How long do you expect to stay? We got to have enough food to accommodate that. We don't want to waste food if you're not all going to be here for a long time. But Cicero doesn't care. He's being very abrupt with his wife. We'll get you in just a moment. He says the labrum,
Country home?
the bathtub,
Oh, tub, my bad, I looked wrong.
the bathtub, if it non est in Bolinio, if it is not in the bathroom, ut sit, so that it may be.
So like, maybe.
Well, obviously he's suggesting what?
Put it back.
Put the tub back.
Wait, why would
Now,
it move?
let's just pause there for a moment, right? In old days, now I don't,
Maybe they had it.
depends on your family, or how far back some of your family members go, or you have access to. You and I are used to a lot of modern conveniences. Bathtubs that don't go anywhere is one of them, okay? Our bathtub
I don't know. it's
tends to stay,
quite an inconvenience, if you ask me.
tends to stay put. But you go back, and even in this country, easy, not even 100 years. And certainly in more rural places, you might have a big tub that you would have to bring into the particular place, fill with water, fill the tub by hand, get in and bathe. If you want hot water, you can always take a cold bath, but if you want hot water, you get the water hot on the stove and then pour it into the tub if you don't have that kind of plumbing. Well, that was very common in ancient world. So the tub might have been a movable item. The slaves would have maybe taken it out to fill it and then bring it back in. And he's saying, hey, if the tub isn't in the bathroom, make sure it is by the time we get there.
But he doesn't leave it outside.
Well, I agree. But then again,
It's so specific.
then again, and I may be stepping on some toes here, but do you always replace the roll of toilet paper
No.
when you're the last
Yes.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
you should.
No,
If you're the last
I at least
one.
put it out.
If you're my sister.
At least set it
If you're, see, and I can tell that bothers you, doesn't it?
Siblings are there.
Well, my daddy's screaming at me enough.
Exactly.
That's why you have siblings. That's why you are younger siblings.
Yes.
That I see.
I at least like put it out there.
No.
so
Yeah,
that
if
it
you
could
just
be put
like
on.
take it.
If you use the last square, replace it. You know. So it'd be a similar sort of thing. It'd be a similar sort of thing. And he says, we'll get you in just a moment, Margaret. And likewise, he says,
Yeah.
all the other things which are necessaria, and victum is a word you don't know, but it's for eating and for good health. Make sure the place is ready. Make sure the bathroom is established right. Make sure we got plenty to eat. Wale.
Bye.
Bye.
Is it any surprise this is his last recorded letter to his wife, and that they were divorced shortly after? Now, well, yeah, and I'll say, theirs is a classic, and we gotta move on to the philosophy stuff. Theirs is a classic kind of deal where it was a marriage that stayed together for kids. Once Tulia had died of childbirth, the son Marcus was off on his own, he was grown. She was kind of the last thing holding it together. And when she died, there's this kind of looking across the table at each other, and it's kind of like, yeah, I never did really like you. And the whole thing
Yikes.
falls apart, you know. And so, I would simply suggest, if you don't want that to happen, you know, you don't wait till this point. You don't wait till the bathtub is out of the bathroom to start having the relational conversations. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
Wait,
So there you go.
why?
Yeah.
Why would
The
you do that?
bathtub is like so specific, like, he didn't ask about anything else, he specifically asked.
Bathtub's
But
pretty important.
when you text your mom about something, are you like, do you just ask about really, really general things? You didn't know these letters were gonna be read.
No, that's exactly right. This is a good one. We're clearly not
Well,
one.
yeah, but like, it's just a bathtub. Like when my dad asked me to buy just chicken at the grocery store, and like, just chicken. It's like very odd, oddly specific, but like it's a grocery list.
Oddly specific chicken.
Yeah.
That's all you need is
That actually
chicken.
sounds like that could be the name of some alternative band.
Just chicken.
Oddly specific chicken.
That's
Hey, did you hear oddly specific chicken's coming to the clip center? That's gonna be great. Anyhow, there it
That's
is.
gotta be.
There you go. Oddly specific chicken. All right, yes, Margaret. It's a combination of yes and no. Margaret asked a good question. She says it sounds rather formal. On the one hand, it's not formal because, as you saw, he like left out verbs. It wasn't complete, and yet, to our ears, some of those clauses sound formal. That wouldn't necessarily been all that formal. Plus, even in an informal letter, I guarantee you that. Kid, if you take some leader, take like a President Obama, even in a private conversation or a private communication, he's not going to talk in the same sort of slang that a teenager does, or that an uneducated worker does. When he's an educated person, even his casual stuff is not going to sound the same way as someone else's casual stuff. You know, it is. It's in October, and it is at the bottom of the letter. Eric, last comment. We move on to page 153 or
So,
somewhere in there.
wouldn't it sound like, formal more in the translation, but it's probably more informal than, cause like, in English we have like some sorts of slang that are
Actually,
more
146.
shorthand and like informal.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think that's certainly true. Page 146. All right. In time remaining, we've got to get introduced to a little bit of his philosophy, and I've got to give you some questions for tonight. Started off on 146. Some of Cicero's philosophical stuff comes as the form of straight-up written philosophy. He sat down to write a philosophical work. Some of it, though, is embedded in some of his other stuff, like some of his speeches. And there's a really interesting piece that he reflects on philosophically in the middle of a speech for this guy named Archias. Somebody start reading 146 in the English, if you will. Jeanette.
It was an ancient Greek custom going back to Homer for poets to wonder about giving recitals for their poems, as today musicians go on concert tours. It came to be the practice for poets to make up poems on the spot using themes suggested by the audience. That is, to improvise.
All right, pause right there. First thing you got to understand, and you write it down, whatever. How many of you read poetry for pleasure? A couple of hands. Okay, that would be about right. Be about what I would expect. You go to Barnes & Noble, poetry section, pretty small. Does anybody in here write poetry, just for yourself, not for maybe publication or anything.
I tried
Again,
one.
couple folks read it. Poetry really is not a part of our lives as a society, except in music. And you think about songs, all songs are poems set to music. That's all that lyrics are. So that's our entry into poetry. In the ancient world, poetry was everything. When you're talking about entertainment, you've really got gladiator kinds of shows, so that brutal, athletic kind of stuff. Olympics, that was rare. That only came right every few years, so you don't really count that so much. You've got plays, but even plays very often are associated with religious festivals. So we're talking a dinner party and you want some entertainment, what do you have? You bring in a poet. You bring in a poet. And a poet will recite their work. In fact, the poem and the word for song in Latin is the same word, carmen. We're going to really get into poetry next 9 weeks quite a bit. The word for poem and the word for song is the same thing. The word for to recite or to sing is the same thing. So if you think about it, reciting a poem or intoning the lyrics to music, maybe while strumming a lyre, again, it's the same basic thing. So poets are incredibly important as music is for us. Yeah.
Did they rhyme words, or was it like
Typically not in terms of end rhyme. So we're talking like the very ends of lines that rhyme. Latin would be a great rhyming language because there's so many vowels, but Latin typically do not rhyme.
Everything would be like.
Well, yeah. All right, move on. One such poet, new paragraph, new reader. Maxwell.
One such poet was
Archias.
Archias, a Greek born about 120 BC in the city of Antioch in Syria. At a young age, Archias showed the ability to memorize and improvise. By the time he was 17, the precocious poet was traveling throughout Asia Minor and Greece to give his reading. Everywhere he met with success.
Okay, keep going after Asia Minor and Greece. Delia.
After Asia Minor and Greece, there was just one part of the Greek-speaking world to be conquered, southern Italy. Here again, Archias was very successful. Where should he go next? There remained the most prominent city of Italy, Rome. It was not a Greek city, but it was becoming a thriving metropolis and was interested in Greek culture. Many prominent Romans spoke Greek well. Cato the Elder had learned Greek as an old man. Homer's Odyssey had been translated into Latin by Livius Andronicus.
Good.
And was used as a textbook in Roman schools. Greek tragedy and comedy had been translated and adapted. Greek philosophers, historians, teachers, and poets have come to Rome and settled down there. And Archias went there too, arriving in the busy city on the Tiber in 102 BC, before he had reached the age of 18.
Every once in a while, you get some other culture's music that makes a big splash in America. Okay? Exactly what I was thinking about. Korean pop music here in the last few years. Certainly, American pop music has gone out across the world. The last time I really remember the biggest sensation and the biggest influence on America would have been back in the 60s and what we call the British invasion. So people like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and that kind of thing. And so here you've got people from some other culture. Already there's an interest factor. Ooh, somebody from somewhere else. Right? That's always interesting. Now this is somebody from somewhere else is doing something that we all find neat. And so suddenly this becomes incredibly popular. Right? That's Archias. Archias is this Greek poet. He's young. He's just in his late teens. And he is wildly popular as a poet. So now he's in Italy. He's coming to Rome. Everybody wants to hear this poet. Everybody's wanting him to come and recite poems at their dinner parties and private gatherings and so forth. All right? Before long, Archias. Keep going. Next paragraph. Mr. Patrick.
Before long, Archias became somewhat of a sensation in Rome. The Lucullus family in particular took him under its wing, and his future was assured. During a trip to Sicily with Marcus Lucullus, Archias was made a citizen of Heraclea in southern Italy. He took to the nomen Licinius of his patronus, the Luculi, and a Roman
comes this Greek kid. He comes to Rome, he's popular, everybody wants to hear him, and this incredibly wealthy family, the Lucullus family, decides to adopt him. Now, it wasn't so much that they needed another kid, it was a way to secure this young man's financial future. So basically, this would have been like an agent, again, thinking in the music industry today, he just got signed to a contract with a major record label, is what this amounts to.
But it's
Okay.
adopted.
But now, back in this day, what it was he was adopted. So now he's going to get to carry this family's name, he's going to be connected, he's going to have money. He took a Roman first name, Aulus. He took Licinius, which was the family name of the Lucullus family, and he kept his own original Greek name. So he became Aulus Licinius Archias, or Archias. So now he is adopted, he's a Roman, everything is really looking up for this kid. The Social War. Mr. Eric.
The Social War, so called because it was a revolt of Rome's allies, Socii, against the big city, broke out in 90 BC. All the allies wanted was Roman citizenship instead of the second-class citizenship that they had held. They lost the war but gained their demands, for a law passed the next year granted them the desired rights of Roman citizenship. So, in accordance with the terms of the law of 89 BC, Archias registered with the praetor as a Roman citizen.
All right, so there's no question that this guy is a Roman citizen. He's been adopted, for one thing. Now, where he is living outside of Rome, all these other Italian towns have now been granted full Roman citizenship. So even if you weren't adopted by some Roman, the fact that you're living in one of these towns makes you a Roman citizen. So this guy is solid, no question about his credentials. He's a Roman citizen. Okay? Next paragraph, general and governors. So, later, a lawsuit was brought against our Pope. Said, you're not a real Roman citizen. He says, of course I am. I've been adopted by the Lucullus family. I'm a citizen of this town here of Heraclea. That town has been granted citizenship. Of course I'm a citizen. I don't think so. It's not good. I'm not a real Roman citizen. Now, nobody really cared about what this kid was a Roman citizen. This was a way for some people to attack this guy. They wanted to embarrass this general named Lucullus by attacking this kid that he had died. Cicero does the defense. And the title of the speech goes with the defense of pro defense of Cicero spends about 5 minutes talking about the details of the actual case, and the rest of the speech turns into this little philosophical exercise about literature and the arts and the value of society. So, in the end, he wins the case. The whole thing was fairly ridiculous. But it's this philosophical part of this what people read the speech for. So turn a few pages over. We're certainly not going to read all of that. But if you look at your homework for tonight, it says answer questions about lines 1 through 8, bottom page 152 and top of 154. And then you've got a part to translate, lines 8 through 13, all on page 154. So what you need are the questions, your early lines. Okay, so here we go. Here are your questions, yeah. Question number 1. How does Cicero answer the question of why he is pleased with Archias? How does Cicero answer the question why he is pleased with Archias? Question number 2. What wears out like Cicero? What wears out, tires out? What wears out, tires out a man like Cicero? Question number 3. How can a lawyer speak about such a wide variety of topics? How can a lawyer speak about such a wide variety of topics? Question number 5. Last question. How can someone who speaks about so many things find relaxation? How can a person who speaks about so many things find relaxation? That goes back through line 7. So it should be fairly easy to find the answers there. Then you're picking up with translation in line 8. Pick it up at keteros hudeot in line 8. And you are taking it through Somnus Retardata in line 13.
What page?
Okay? Now, close up your books, but we're not done. Close up your books, notebooks, you don't need any of this stuff. But this is where, and we're going to do this kind of thing for the next several days, we talk about these different topics. What do you think of when you think of literature? What do you think of when you think of the arts? And I put that word in the plural. I'm not saying art. What do you think of when you think of literature? What do you think when you think of the arts? Yes, brainstorm stuff.
Like literature, like books that like
Old books.
for art and music.
Okay. Music, painting, yep.
Just think of college, I don't know, like old college.
Old college, that's an interesting image, yeah.
Well, I think that literature should be included in it.
Literature includes, so the arts takes in literature as well as other stuff. Interesting, that's what you're going to say? Interesting, yeah.
When I hear specifically literature, I think of like analysis kind of thing. But when I think of like the arts, I think of creativity.
You think of creativity, okay, yep.
Like intelligent books for literature and
Okay.
for the arts, like sculptures and paintings.
Sculptures and paintings and intelligent books. I want to come back on that one. Yes, that's interesting, yeah. Okay, some similar ideas coming in. So, Spider-Man comic book. Literature?
Yes.
Some say yes. Certainly some of the things you guys were saying, are maybe not. Big thick novel like Les Miserables or War and Peace.
Art.
Definitely maybe there's art. The Venus de Milo statue, or the David of Michelangelo. Does that fit into the arts?
Yes.
Okay. Graffiti on a bridge.
Art.
Maybe so. Maybe so. Now, let me ask you this. value of literature and arts, and again, I'm taking that, emphasizing that word in plural, not for the author of arts, not as in the outlet being created. What's the value of literature to the arts for you, the consumer? What's the value of literature to the consumer? Find something that's relatable, some point of contact here. Yep. Certainly to learn from that, yeah. Entertainment. And even if it's classic literature, you can still be entertained by it. You can be entertained certainly by going to a museum and enjoying great music. Or shop. Intelligence, that kind of classic. Analytical skills, certainly. Yep.
I think like expression.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah. Let me ask you this. Do you engage with any kind of and we'll keep it pretty open, so anything from, again, War and Peace through, Harry Potter, right? Do you engage right now, this current school year of your life, do you engage with any kind of literature that is not assigned to you?
Yes.
Yes.
Why? Why do you? If you read outside of class, why do you? Yes.
I read books because my dad tells me to read them because they're like good and interesting.
Okay. So good recommendations, and hey, this would be an interesting book to read. Okay.
Entertainment, being able to get out of the current world and into something else.
A little escapism, yeah.
Yeah, like, there's, if I'm upset, I like to read, and to learn things.
Okay.
If I want to read nonfiction.
Learn stuff, nonfiction, but I really like that escapism. Just get out of the world for a little while. Yeah.
I used to read for pleasure a lot, but now I mostly read books just to learn. I read a lot more nonfiction than I used to.
And again, we're talking about not assigned stuff. Just
Yeah.
on your own. Cool. Okay. You get to learn.
I read books in the hallway because I don't like looking at other people in the hallway. I think it's really awkward. I average about a book a week in the hallway. I'm serious. I read a Pretty Little Liars book at least once a week.
I freaking
read a
love
Pretty
Pretty
Little
Little
Liars.
Liars.
Hey,
I think
Elliot,
the awkward.
camera, please, go ahead.
Things are really awkward.